Hello, sweet ones, and welcome to this week's episode of Embodied Divinity. I always know that these episodes reach the exact people they're meant to. So if you're listening to this, chances are something inside you have shifted. Maybe you can't quite explain it, maybe it feels subtle, or maybe it feels like a tidal wave. But either way, you know you are no longer the same. And maybe that knowing comes with peace, or maybe it comes with grief, confusion, fatigue, even a sense of not knowing who you are anymore. And I want you to know you're not alone. Today in our conversation, we're going to sink into a soft but really powerful place to anchor into as we talk about what it means to move through an energetic rebirth, and how to navigate nervous system recalibration, and what it looks like to reclaim the new frequency of you. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about returning to the truth of who you were before the world told you to perform, to survive, to hustle, to prove. So before we dive into the yummy, let's take a deep breath. And if you can, put your feet firmly on the floor and just ground in, breathing deep in and out as you welcome yourself into our sacred space. So I want to first start by mentioning that if you're listening to this in real time, we've been in an eclipse portal. And that brought a lot of intense astrological energy, but at the same time there's been a lot of intense solar flare activity, and many of us have felt heightened emotions, strange fatigue followed by surges of energy, headaches, tension, vivid dreams, a sense of detachment or disinterest in what once mattered, random grief or tenderness bubbling to the surface. Like for me personally, I'm reading a book series right now as just a way to just enjoy all of the human experience, and I'm crying over things that I don't think I'd ever cry over before. There's been so many emotions. And then there's also, I've talked a lot in the last few weeks about this sense of neutrality, as I'm really anchoring deeper peace into my life. And so the way these show up can come in so many different forms. If you feel open to it, let me know below wherever you're listening to this what you're experiencing this week. But I want you to know these aren't just random symptoms. They're signs of energetic detox. The body and soul are literally releasing outdated frequencies, old roles, old versions of self, old trauma, old imprints that were stored in your energy field. You might even feel like you don't recognize yourself anymore. And honestly, you're not supposed to. You are no longer a match for who you used to be. You are shedding an identity that was built in survival, and that is sacred. So we have all of this energetic stuff going on, right? All of these solar flares, all of this intense energy moving through our body. But at the same time, we are in these human bodies and we have nervous systems. If you've already had a lot of trauma or experienced anxiety or ungroundedness, it's going to be even more amplified because all of this energetic purging is directly impacts your physical and emotional body. So for those of us who have lived in survival mode for years or even decades, the idea of not being activated can feel incredibly strange. You may find yourself wondering, why do I feel so numb? Why doesn't anything feel exciting? Why do I feel exhausted even when I'm resting? And I want you to know this is what nervous system recalibration looks like. Your body has been running on adrenaline and cortisol for so long that true calm might register as boredom or detachment, but it's not. It's your body finally exiting fight or flight. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're healing. And healing can look like stillness, like long naps, like disinterest in socializing, or not wanting to read or be alone, or letting it be enough. You're learning how to live in a regulated state for the first time. And that requires a deep gentleness and grace. And it requires time. When I was beginning the journey into like peace as my foundation rather than surviving, it was so hard for me not to berate myself of like, why aren't you doing more? Why aren't you hustling more? Why aren't you out there like getting that bag and doing all these things? And it took so much for me to simply say, actually, what if just being here now is enough? What if just resting is enough? What if just embracing and being in awe and gratitude for what is here presently is enough? And I literally had to say these things to myself over and over. And there were so many tears and so many nights of wondering what was wrong with me, why I couldn't be that woman who could get up and hustle all day long and do all of these things. And then when I really sat back and thought about it, I realized like I have been begging for this life, a life where I didn't have to do all these things. And then when it did drop in, I was like, what is this? Like, I can't handle this. And it took a lot of time. For me, almost 3 years. I don't think it has to take that long for anybody, but I really fought it. I really fought the sinking into stillness. I really didn't know how to let go of survival and hustle. And there was also this attachment to being productive and proving my worth and proving that I had something to offer the world. And every time I've let one of those go, it's also been this deep period of grief, of grieving the woman who needed to always help others, of grieving the woman who needed to always be productive, of grieving the woman who could get up and work a 16-hour day and that's how she felt good about herself. There was grief and there was a void and there was an emptiness of that version of me that was no longer there. And it took time and it took patience and it took a lot of self-care. And I'm sharing this with you because I want you to know that you will get through this, that you're not alone in this journey, that there's nothing wrong with you, and that you deserve to be that person to yourself that says, let's take a deep breath. It's okay to be still. It's okay to rest. It's okay to do nothing. I think one of the most disorienting parts of rebirth is that the old version of you starts to fade and nothing new has fully taken its place. You're no longer interested in what you used to be obsessed with. You don't want to hustle. You can't tolerate spaces that drain you. You don't have the same access to performance energy anymore. And yet, you're not really sure who you are right now. And I love this point because this is a really deep invitation from the universe saying it's time to reintroduce yourself to yourself. Not by thinking about it, but by listening. These are some of the questions that I continuously wrote down and sat with during this period. Number one, what actually feels good in my body today? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but what feels good in my body today? What kinds of conversations nourish me? And what do I desire without guilt? And let your body answer before your mind does. Let your system recalibrate before you rush to define it. And this is the hard part, it's listening. It's listening because it requires you to get out of old habits, old norms, old structures that you've built your life around. It requires you to be brave and shift things and change things and say goodbye to relationships and jobs and and types of lifestyles that no longer serve you. And it's hard when you've built your whole identity around it. But this is the frequency of the new you, honest and grounded and authentic. And your energy is more refined now, more sacred, more selective. And that's a gift. It was in this period when most of my relationships fell away because I finally realized how sacred it was to be in my presence. And I believe this is true for every person, but when you know it, when you own it, when you embody it and live by it, it's very different than just saying it or thinking it. I no longer indulged in conversations that were filled with small talk or superficiality or surface level life. I could no longer resonate or really be in the energy of people who were living life that was in a different vibration than me, and not from a place of judgment, but from a place of discernment. I could say, I love you, and I'm not going to be a part of this type of lifestyle, whatever that might look like for you. And remember, there's no judgment involved. Every person is on their own sacred journey, and what might be really sacred and powerful for one just isn't the same for you. And so you're discerning where your energy desires to be, and you're only putting yourself in that energy that you feel most alive, most nourished, most safe, most at peace. Living from this new frequency means being okay with doing less. It means letting success feel boring sometimes. It means letting joy be quiet and easeful. It means letting love come through slow and safely instead of through adrenaline. It means choosing alignment even when it doesn't come with validation. And I know that can be such a hard thing. It can be such a hard thing to know with all your body that you're in the right place at the right time, but the whole external world isn't showing you evidence of that, and maybe even directly countering you with something different, telling you that you're making the wrong choices. It takes a deep kind of knowing and confidence in self and your choices to live that way. This new frequency of you is magnetic, not because of what you're doing, but because of how you feel inside what you do. You're no longer chasing, you're attracting. You're no longer proving, you're being. And you will draw in exactly what aligns with that truth. And that's when life becomes really, really magical. And I want to emphasize that it does take a little time in some of these situations to catch up, because your system has to purge all these old ways of being. And so as you sink into ease, knowing that love, that wealth, that ease can come to you with grace without having to do, all of those patterns that you used to live by are going to surface. And it has to be you that says, I see you, I witness you, and I'm no longer living from there. I'm living from here, over and over and over again, until one day the thoughts stop coming and you start to see the fruits of your beingness in your reality. So here's my invitation to you. Don't rush this phase. Don't force clarity. Don't bypass your exhaustion. Let yourself be reborn slowly. Let the version of you that is built on peace and self-trust fully land. You are no longer surviving. You are learning how to live. And that is the most sacred initiation of all. On both Wednesday and Friday, I'm going to have some powerful meditations come out, one for during the day, one for sleep time, that will help you really sink into this knowing and this energy. And on my Substack channel, there's going to be tons of daily notes and informative articles and newsletters coming out that will help you sink into this knowing. You have everything you need to really just grab this and digest it and let it be a part of who you are. I love you. I see you, and you're doing so beautifully. Breathe deep and plan on miracles. Talk to you soon.